AFC South. Who wins the division and why?
I am going to go the Tennessee Titans. Now, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. They won it last year, given the fact that the Colts really didn't have a real gunslinger at QB. Colts were among the league's best defenses. Their secondary was extremely solid, and Phillip Rivers did a great job of being a game manager, but at times slinging it when he needed to be. But it could not be enough to surpass the Tennessee Titans and what they have offensively. And this was before getting Julio Jones, who is one of the best wide receivers the league has ever seen. People are counting him out. Now that he had his first down year ever in his career, people are automatically going to assume that Julio Jones is done. But now you give him a younger Matt Ryan, in my opinion. Tannehill reminds me a lot of Matt Ryan, only that Tannehill's more mobile than Matt Ryan is. And now you add A.J. Brown to the opposite side of that. And now you also add Derrick Henry into the backfield. And Julio Jones, as good as Devontae Freeman was in his time in Atlanta for those few years that he was healthy, he was never as good as Derrick Henry, or as good as Derrick Henry will be this upcoming season. And defensively, that's definitely the weak point of this team for sure. But you go and you draft a cornerback. Help me out, I'm blanking on his name.
Caleb Farley.
Caleb Farley, who had the potential at this,
to be a top 10 pick
early in mock drafts to be the first corner taken off the board over Surtain, who I already see as defensive rookie of the year, or Caleb Farley. Excuse me, not. Am I thinking of Caleb Farley? No.
You're thinking about J.C. Horn.
J.C. Horn, who went to Carolina, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very firm pick for them, especially with how late they got him. And you go and you add, oh my goodness,
Bud Dupree.
Thank you, Bud Dupree, which their defensive line last season was among the worst in the NFL. I think they ranked either last or second to last against the run. Secondary-wise, they weren't anything special either. Defensively, they just had a bunch of liabilities all over the field. But at least they did something to address that. And even without the run defense, without the secondary, they still won 11 games last season. And now you add Julio Jones to this offense that's only going to make them more dynamic. I can't believe I forgot Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree got one of the biggest contracts this offseason. His name just slipped my mind. But Bud Dupree, I like the signing. I think it was a little bit too much money, but for the fact that they have no presence on that line, they needed to make a splash somewhere. So I don't mind it too much. I do think it was a little bit overpaid, but there was reasons behind it. Now, the Titans should lock this up. I think that Wentz does give the Colts a better chance of booming than Phillip Rivers did, because Carson Wentz's ceiling is higher than what Phillips was last season, if you understand what I'm trying to say there. But overall, I just think the Titans are going to be too much to handle.
So let's get the first two out of the way. The Texans and Jaguars aren't in this race at all. The Texans, I think they're going to go 1-16. They brought in Tyrod Taylor, Justin Britt, a good center, Terrence Mitchell, Desmond King. They have done some good things. I actually think this roster is better than last year's roster. But last year's roster was horrible. And the reason they won 4 wins, the reason they won 4 games is because of Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Now you have Tyrod Taylor. And if he's out, Davis Mills. I mean, this team is going to be the worst team in football up there with Detroit. Then you look at Jacksonville. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer, who right now the Jaguars are under investigation by the NFL because they, Urban Meyer said they made some of their cuts based on players' vaccination status. So because of that, they're under investigation. I think they're a dysfunctional team. On defense, they won't be very good, or on offense. So now let's get to the top. Colts versus Texans. Colts versus Titans, excuse me. Mm-hmm. The Titans will win this division at 11-6. The Colts will be 9-8. Carson Wentz right now is on the COVID list, so is Ryan Kelly. T.Y. Hilton, he's going to be out for a while. They don't have a left tackle. They signed Eric Fisher, but he's going to be out for a while because he had a season-ending injury in the playoffs. And I think it was an ACL or an Achilles, one of those two. But he's going to be out for about a year. They improved their pass rush with Kwity Paye. They have Grover Stewart now and DeForest Buckner. I like that. Their defense is going to be fine. Some people may view Carson Wentz as an upgrade over Phillip Rivers, but I don't. Is their ceiling better with Carson Wentz? Absolutely. But we are missing a key factor when talking about quarterbacks. That's leadership. There's not a guy that is a better leader of men than Phillip Rivers. This guy's a coach now. He's one of the better leader of men that the NFL has ever seen. He is passionate about the game of football. You can't say the same for Carson Wentz.
No.
Carson Wentz is not the leader. The reason the Colts were so good were because, they had a good all-around team, but Phillip Rivers rallied everybody. I don't think that is Carson Wentz's personality, and he's injured a lot. So if he gets hurt, and now the Colts have to have Sam Ehlinger in there or Jacob Eason, now their season is done. The Titans got Julio Jones, who I think, when healthy, is still a top 3 receiver in his league. The only receivers in Julio's class, when healthy, are Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins.
No respect to Diggs?
Stephon Diggs is not in Julio's class when healthy.
Okay. And Tyreek?
He's a tier 2. Yeah, they're tier 2.
Okay.
They're tier 2. Michael Thomas is, I think, probably tier 1 as well with those guys.
Okay.
But I think tier 1 is Julio, Hopkins, and Devontae Adams. Contrary to belief, I think they improved their defense. They got a new defensive play caller, Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Jayon Brown is still there. Rashaan Evans is still there. I think he's going to be pretty good. Kevin Byard. I think Amani Hooker is going to be pretty good at safety. He's going to fill the void Kenny Vaccaro left. Secondary is their weak point. Janoris Jenkins is their best corner. Caleb Farley, he's a rookie. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. Christian Fulton, they drafted last season. Who knows what he's going to do? The secondary will be the weak part. But I think their offense is good enough to just get 11 wins. Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Anthony Fursker. Offensive line is great. Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is going to have an MVP-like season. I think he's going to finish top 5 in MVP voting because he's going to have such an electric season. Derrick Henry, I think, is going to take less carries this year. And you mentioned Devontae Freeman in Atlanta. These past couple of years in Atlanta, they have had no running game. They were a predictable football team. They're going to pass all the time. Now, in Tennessee, worrying about Derrick Henry having to stack the box.
Yeah.
Julio and A.J. Brown are going to feast on that.
Absolutely.
They're going to see single coverage. And Julio Jones probably hasn't seen single coverage since ever, honestly.
Never.
It's probably the first time ever he's going to see it.
You think he'll see singles still?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's possible. And even though Arthur Smith left, I think Todd Downing will do a great job. Coming into the season, this offseason, I was worried about the Tennessee Titans because they lost Jonnu Smith. Mm-hmm. They lost Corey Davis. I thought, okay, they might take a hit. But Julio, he offset all of that.
No doubt.
So that's why I think the Tennessee Titans are going to go 11-6. I think they will win this division, and they should be the favorites by far. I think there are too many question marks with the Colts. And I know the Titans defense took a hit last season, but 2019 Titans defense versus 2020 Titans defense, the defensive personnel is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And the 2019 Titans defense was really good.
For sure.
So I think there was just an off-year bad play call and a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure quite what it was. I just know that I don't expect them to be a bottom defense again this upcoming season.